Thank you and welcome to Disavowed. Today I have a special guest with me, Fred D'Amico, and he's a actor and producer. And his one film we're going to be discussing today is A Power of Few. Go ahead, Fred, and introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I was originally from Ohio. So coming from Ohio, you really don't know much about the Hollywood industry. And the only reason why I went out to Hollywood was because I was already involved with theatrical performances in Ohio and was basically on a speech team where I competed every weekend, kind of like you do for trophies of any other sport or whatever. And I would come home each weekend with a trophy. And I ended up placing fourth in the state of Ohio for duet acting in semifinals for nationals. And I then went on to college to go be a communications and business finance. And that just was really a shock because that was get a real job in life and give up this other dream. But what happened was I took a turn and I just decided I'm going to follow my heart and my passion. I decided if I'm going to sell something instead of selling products, I was going to sell me as a product in Hollywood. So I packed up and I went out to Hollywood in 1996 to follow my acting
And
passion.
and how did that originally go? Like, what was it? Of course, we always hear the horror stories of the Hollywood trip and basically living on ramen noodles, and we all
Well, I
know
don't
the
want to give
cost of living.
people false hopes. Yeah, I don't want to give people false hopes, but obviously, like I said, coming from an actual background of competitive acting, which is strange because nobody really has ever really heard of competitive acting, except that's what these speech teams are geared towards, where you're competing for the first, second, or third in each room. So going out to Hollywood and knowing that it was nothing more than okay, so you're going to have instead of 100 guys in front of you, you're going to have 10,000 guys in front of you for that same role, right? Well, the point is never to look at the numbers and never to worry about the people in front of you or the people behind you, because ultimately you were the character that they were looking for. So with that attitude and with that kind of just mindset, I set out to hit my auditions. In my very first couple of months, I was auditioning and getting callbacks from left and right, but I didn't land any parts. And I took an acting class and I signed up with this lady who really I blew her away to the point where she had friends at Fox Studios. So within 3 months of moving from Ohio to Hollywood, this acting coach said, Fred, I want you to, check this out. We got a role for you. We want you to audition for it. It was at Fox Studios with a movie called The Edge, and that was a movie with Alec Baldwin and Anthony Hopkins. I don't know if you remember that.
I'm not
It
familiar
was,
with it. No.
it was about they go out into the wilderness, and a bear, there was a bear that was attacking them, and they're out in the middle of the wilderness. There was a third guy with them, and that was the character. And I was at Fox Studios, and I'll be honest with you, within 3 months of being in Hollywood, sitting at Fox doing this audition for this movie. And it was very interesting because, I came out there from Ohio, and my acting coach told me, just rehearse the scene the way we have. And I remember before the audition, I said to myself, I think this character's gay, just by reading through the lines on it. And we get in there, I start my audition, and the director stops me. Like, after maybe 30 seconds, stops me in the middle of my audition and says, all right, Fred, let's see you're fine, but how can I put this to you? The character that you're playing is, and I go, gay. Let's see, my acting coach was in my audition with me. She looked at me with some evil eyes, like, I told you not to do this. She told me the character's not gay. She said, just practice the way we do. But see, I didn't listen to her. And I went home that night before the audition, after her class, and I actually practiced it being gay, too. So when I said, is he gay? The director says to me, Fred, he's more like flamboyantly gay.
Mm.
I was like, oh. And I said, no problem. I said, I've practiced it that way too. I said, I practice it both ways, even though I don't go both ways, is what I said. And then I asked him if he wouldn't mind if I excused myself for a few minutes, and I'll be right back. I just wanted a few minutes before I redo it. He said, no problem. And I had left. We had rescheduled for half an hour to come back. I walked across the street from Fox Studios. There's a golf course there, and I sat down on the golf course, and I remember sitting there and thinking to myself, okay, you're in Hollywood, you're at Fox Studios within 3 months, here's a major movie. Let's say you land this part. What would that do? Well, that put me on the big screen right off the bat, and it put me right into a role of a gay guy, right off the bat. Is this what I want? Do I even know the Hollywood game? Do I even know what I'm getting into right now? Do I even understand this industry? And with all those questions and all those thoughts of, do I really want to do this, being pigeonholed maybe, or not being able to break into the roles I want, or just not even understanding what I'm doing yet, I decided to turn it down.
Right.
And my acting coach is this. And she comes to me because my cousin is a writer. Cousin wrote Sons of Anarchy. My cousin wrote Seventh Heaven. My cousin wrote The Walking Dead and Narcos. My cousin's a big-time writer out there who didn't want any family members coming out there, or just me in particular, who knows. But he said, everyone thinks they're special, Fred. Stay home. And I told him, I'm coming, Jack. It had nothing to do with me asking for favors or anything. I said, let's just have lunch, Jack. That's it. And Jack said, all right, since you can act, I want you to go see this lady. And that's where I met my acting coach.
Right. Now, did you ever find out why your cousin didn't want you to come out to Hollywood?
Because he understood this business.
Yeah.
And he knew the number of games, and he knew that I was an actor coming out to Hollywood, and he just didn't want to hear it, and he didn't want to put up with it. Because I'll be honest with you, I'm going to tell people, the whole industry around acting, you've got your photographers, you have your acting classes, your acting coaches, you have your auditions on Melrose Avenue, where else you're lined up for, and all these auditions and cattle calls, extra background services they offer. That's great and all, except you're still not going to get anywhere in Hollywood until two things. Number one, you need an agent. Number two, it's who you know.
Right. Yeah, I completely can see that happening. It's a good old boys club, definitely. Now, how does?
It's more than that. Here's the thing, dude. Let's just say I'm a casting director for a movie, and on my desk I have a package from the William Morris Agency, or from Gwen Pepper over at where's she at nowadays? I forget. But you have an agent that is sending you actors from an agency that you know. Those are the first pictures and first people you are looking at only after the must hires or the friends of the producers or friends of the main talent actors. So the roles that are left for the casting director, very important. They have a stack. They have a stack of submitted headshots from, number one, unsolicited, not through an agent, just people that found out about this audition and have sent pictures in. Now, they tell you to do that. They tell you to find out audition, send your picture.
Yeah, so you just send a picture in across country.
You just send it in. No, even if you're in Hollywood, you ship out your headshot to all these auditions, right? And there's a stack. So the casting director would set their coffee, not on the desk, but right on the stack that goes from the floor to the same height as the desk. Those are the pictures of actors and actresses that wanted to get a job, that didn't have an agent, that just sent them to a casting director. Right. So you can see the thousands of people that won't even get looked at.
Right. It's a needle in a haystack.
Well, let alone on the desk of the casting director are two piles. You have a pile for the agents that you know and their actors,
Right.
And then you have all these other agents out there in Hollywood that are claiming to be talent agents and agencies and all this stuff, unheard of named actors and named or agents that are unknown. And these casting directors, once again, they'll have the higher up hires from, let's say, the executive producer's wants or needs or whatever they need from the cast. Second level down will be the agents that the casting director knows, or the actors that the casting director wants to go after first. Then will be the agents that are agents, but they're not known agents to this casting director or whoever. And then you'll go to the third level, which is the floor, all the way up.
Right. And then obviously if you're like out of the Hollywood loop, like let's say you're in the Midwest and you have an agent, obviously more than likely those agents are not going to be well known if you have an agent.
Not at all.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and you can be submitted by an Ohio agent out in LA all you want.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's just, come on. Here's the other thing. Just so you know, and this is where I really realized Hollywood too. You see, I'm a straight white man, and they ended up getting a gay black man to play the part.
Right.
So
Well,
you never know what they're looking for or what they want anyways, because even if I would have nailed that audition perfectly, they would, some other decision comes in and says, well, yeah, let's switch it up. Let's go with a different race. Let's do something else. Let's long hair instead of short hair. Let's put fat instead of skinny. Let's make them have tattoos instead of clean, or a beard or whatever. So the things can change on certain characters in a movie script. And when you break down a movie script, you got to realize there's really only a handful of the main characters, and those are already gone out the door. Then there's the supporting actors here too. That those are going out the door too to the agent's secondary picks as well. So there's these few peppered parts that the entire world is trying to get out there in Hollywood, and they're spending $300, $400, $500 a month on acting classes and clothes and headshots and everything, not knowing that pure nepotism on the very top levels.
Well, they're basically supporting the underbelly of the system with basically a hope of a lottery ticket, basically.
That's right.
Yeah.
And here's the other thing is. The other thing is it's a numbers game. So here we sit in a room and we think about characters we want. And you say, well, I want Dennis Hopper, or I want Christopher Walken. Well, who brings more in the foreign sales market? That's how you decide the male roles are the main or most important roles to cast. Because not saying that the female roles and like Julia Roberts isn't a big name, but unless you have Julia Roberts, you will not move that needle on the foreign sales as much with the female actress as you will with a male actor. But a male actor of a caliber that will move that needle, for instance, you get quotes from foreign sales companies that will tell you, you put Christopher Walken in your movie and he'll yield you a 1.5 return worldwide sales. So you pay $500,000 to put him in your movie, and supposedly he'll return you 1.5 back.
Right. On average. That's on average.
Yeah, correct. Mm-hmm.
So
that's how you decide what you're going to budget your movie. So that's where you're not going to find $1 million movie with Christopher Walken in it. Because for $1 million, you can't even get Christopher Walken and shoot your movie.
Right, correct.
You see?
Correct. Now, what would be considered like a low budget in Hollywood for a theater release, like a big screen release?
Well, we released mine on the big screen, and we spent about 3.7 on ours, I believe, 3.75.
And that would be considered lower budget.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'd say when you talk about low budget, whose eyes are you looking through? A studio picture where anything under, let's say, 30 million, 20 million?
Right.
I would, in my eyes, I deal with low budget, which is just from $1 million. Let's even say 500,000 to, we had a $8 million movie that we were working on. So anywhere between 500,000 and $8 million, low budget.
Right.
Ultra low budget is like a $2 million movie, $1 million movie. Those are low budget movies.
And then then you're under 500,000 would be mostly independent films.
Well, even million, 2 million independent. Well, independent anything that's not studio. So we're
Right.
independent at 3.7 million.
Wow.
You know,
Wow.
with Christopher Walken, that's an independent film. Independent just means you're not a studio that made it.
Right.
You're a production company that just made a movie.
Wow.
And that's the other end of this entire game that I finally realized after 20 some years of this thing. Here's what it comes down to. We spend our whole life in Hollywood trying to produce our movies, write, act in movies, work on movies, and do all these things. But that's great. You got to raise money to shoot these movies. You got to put together the thing. You got to go on location, shoot it all. You put it all in a package and get it done. Now you have this almost $4 million movie done. What are you going to do with it now? Now you're going to go sell it. Well, how are you going to sell it? Well, first off is, you know, you're supposed to have distribution lined up before you start shooting your movie. So we did. We talked to Lionsgate, and we had a relationship with Michael Burns at the time, but Michael Burns didn't control every aspect of Lionsgate at the moment. Our movie was done, so he said that they would give us a deal with Grindstone. And the Grindstone deal was a little bit, you know, it was base. It was base, a little bit higher than base. And our executive producers decided, well, why would we give Grindstone their cut and do this when we have relationships and we could do it ourselves, which was a big mistake. Relationships with a theater chain, which is what we had, that gave us the rights to open a theater in different states and everything to our own rollout with our own money that we got from our foreign sales. So we shot the movie, then we sold it foreign. We took our foreign sales and used that for our domestic release. It could have panned out, but it didn't. And most likely it won't for people that try to do that same method. What I found was this entire game is in the hands of the distribution. After all these filmmakers are done with their passion and all these actors are done acting and all the editor puts his flair on it and this movie's finally done. Now what you see is the Good Old Boys Club, which is, they have a little black book in Hollywood, you see. And if you have shipped your movie around the different studios that have passed on it, you send it to Warner Brothers, they pass on it, it goes in as a pass. So when you go to Universal, they'll see that it was already at Warner Brothers and they passed.
Right. So it affects the value of your product.
Oh, it's kind of like this. They know that you're out there looking for distribution, and they're going to make you wait. And they're going to let you sit. And here's some of the things that do happen sometimes. They'll pick up your project and let it sit. They'll pick it up. They'll redo it on their own levels too. You're never guaranteed anything.
Right. Well, they
unless you're a studio with your own distribution channels already lined up like that. Other than that, as an independent, you're bringing product to these distributors, and they know that you need them, because if you do not get this movie distributed, you have all of your investors waiting for their money back.
Correct. And it's sitting. It's sitting.
Sitting.
And everyone knows the next worst thing to losing money is having an investment that's not making any money.
Well, that might as well be losing it.
Yeah. And
I'll tell you what.
How does it work with distribution? Like what cut does the distributor take? What do they? How does that work?
They can take 25%.
25%.
You take 25% fees. They also have, this is the funny money of Hollywood. You have to pay what's called P&A from your production expenses. So whatever your movie makes in the theaters, in the box or whatever, the first money that comes back does not go into the pockets of the producers and whoever else has points in it, because the first that gets paid back is your distribution. Right. Who put up the prints and advertising? Who paid to have that movie copied digitally so it could be sent to all the theaters digitally, a digital copy, which cost, I think it was $10,000 a copy.
Wow.
Or $8,000 you can get them done for. So the cost is exorbitant of your ticket sales and foreign sales and any distribution channels that come in. So you're going to first pay back your distributor's fees for going to let's say they're going to Cannes with your movie in their pile of other movies. What they do is they're going to charge you for the cost of them taking your movie to the Cannes Film Festival, which is, hey, they had to bring their whole company there, put them up in hotels, stay there, pay the booth fees. So technically, every movie in their catalog should be paying a portion of those fees. So you're lumped in with other movies that they're selling to the world markets, is what happens. And they'll take deals, and they'll come back to your production and say, listen, we got 200,000 out of France right now, or out of Germany, or whatever. Do you want to take it? And the thing is, you're expecting 400,000 out of Germany, but instead you're coming back with 200,000 or 150. And, that's where you don't know who your distributor is all the time and what kind of a deal that they're making, where they might have said, listen, I'll give you the power of few if you take Arrivals. So you take Arrivals, but you're going to get the power of few for a cheap amount, but you're going to take them both.
Right. They throw in the little add-ons, basically.
Yeah, as a distribution. Right. They'll give you two, and they'll put in a package then.
Right.
They'll try to move the product.
So basically, no matter how good your product is, right, most of the time, there's always stipulations behind getting your product out there.
Well, the stipulation is who's going to pick it up and put it out there.
Right.
And what are they going to pay you for?
Right.
Sometimes a distribution company will just pay you for it, and you go in there and you tell them what you made it for, which you lie. If you made it for $3 million, you're going to tell them you made it for $9 million.
Right. Because you want them to pay up.
Right. You want them to pay up and out, right?
Right.
For instance, we brought a movie to our town here in Ohio. It was called None That Follow. Gerard Butler's company put this one out. It was Imagia Entertainment, Alan Siegel Entertainment. They did London Has Fallen, Olympus Has Fallen. Mm-hmm. Well, they had this movie. It was about a $2.7 million movie. Well, they made the movie and they sold it at Sundance for, I think, $4 million. So right off the bat, they've already made their money back plus some, and now it's going into distribution land.
Right. And they'll continue to get dividends on that for a long time.
Well, that's where the funny money comes in. You got to remember, the money that's coming in off this movie has to pay certain things. First of all, SAG will take their money. It goes to a collection account. Right. And all the money from the world goes into this collection account that then pays out the proper parties. And your actual physical production team, the producers, the investors, and then the residuals that go out, don't happen until after.
Right.
After, number one, there's a waterfall. It's a waterfall. And the distribution is the first on the top of the waterfall. And they will pay for their lunches. They'll pay for everything, their flights. They'll pay for all of the distribution it will cost. Then they'll take their fee. Then you have to pay back your investors their money, plus their interest on their money. And then producers will start seeing money coming in.
So all the money flows through SAG, is what you're saying?
No, SAG takes their money up. When money from the world comes in, it goes to a world collection account. Right. SAG will be listed on that collection account so that production companies are to pay SAG residuals. They put money away for SAG because that's a requirement.
Right. Is that a percentage base? Is that how they do it?
Is it percentage or is it on the? I don't think it's percentage. It's what the distribution was. Like, let's say you're running on Showtime and it was airing on Showtime, whatever that was. Plus, yeah, any sales that were coming in, anything that the distributor deemed to be paid into the production account, then production then takes their money and have to pay SAG, and then they have to pay their investors, and then they pay themselves. So there's some guidelines on, how it looks like you think you're going to get your money back, but all the bills that could ever be submitted ahead of you and loss of money. See, this is where a movie could lose money even though it just made $100 million. How does it lose money if it just made $100 million? It's because of all the fees that they say they incurred. Right. You see?
Yeah.
So it's funny money in Hollywood.
Well, marketing is a very abstract business. I mean, to market someone, you got to schmooze certain people. You got to throw parties. You got to get a lot.
No, it's different. The distributors are not marketers in a way. They are, but they're not. They push a button and you got distribution.
Oh, that easy?
Well, for a major distributor, absolutely. They have the ways to get this out. They also have their own P&A funds to get it out. They'll do the rollouts how they, see fit for it. You're not going to blast the movie as a wide release. A limited release is most likely what you're going to get. They'll do rollout states and see how it works. And that will gear up more cities to play the movie. But ultimately, movie theaters, you got to understand what a price tag it is to put your movie into a theater versus just going for, regular VODs, you have to gauge whether or not your movie needs to go to a movie theater. Everyone wants their movie in a movie theater. Question is it worth it to your investors and to your production? Because on a movie, you have to, let's say you want to book your local theater. Technically, they would ask you to put in between $8,000 to $10,000 worth of marketing for the region before they would tie up their screen. Mm-hmm. They're not going to just put a movie in there if there's no advertising for it.
Right. No one's going to come.
Right. The movie theater owner takes his cut too.
Right.
Most likely a 70-30 split. Okay, so he's going to take his as the movie theater owner, and he wants to make sure that movie is advertised, which means you have to put advertising dollars towards this movie. And those dollars that you put towards advertising and to get people to go to the theaters have to be recouped prior to you even seeing a profit or to be able to pay back your investors now. So how much are you spending on trying to get people? So what happens also is if you release your movie at the wrong time, winter time.
Right.
Snowstorm hits. Nobody gets out on that weekend. Movie theaters only run your show a 2-week minimum, and then you're gone. If you don't make the numbers for them, you're gone after the second week. Right. That's it.
Well, imagine all the movies that were due to release during this lockdown that just happened. Think of all the losses that was taken there.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And when there were bombings happening, when people were afraid that they were going to bomb, and what was it, Batman, or no? What was it?
Yeah, it was the Batman with the Joker. Yeah.
It was the Batman, wasn't it? The Batman that they were going to bomb.
Yeah, the one guy did show up and shot up the theater during the Batman one. Yeah,
during the Batman one, and then there was also what was it? The Interview.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that. Is the Interview the one where Seth Rogen,
James Franco? Yeah, they were the two spies.
Yeah, it was like a semi-comedy, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't see that one.
That one got threats too.
But yeah, man, that's all interesting, and like the aspects of how the industry.
Here's the worst part. Let's say you want to try to release your movie in the summertime. Do you know how many studios have already locked up their releases in the summer? So you're fighting blockbuster hits.
Oh, so prices probably go up too, right?
No. It's not about that. It's about if you're going to spend $9 to go see a movie, and the new whatever came out. Like for instance, when my movie came out, we had
you're competing.
Beautiful Creatures, yeah, Beautiful Creatures, Die Hard 4, and then our movie was out too at the same time.
Right.
So you were competing with Beautiful Creatures, which had a studio backing, wide release, and it was pushed heavily. So people, it's a matter. We lasted 2 weeks in theaters, and then we were gone. We didn't have enough pull. We didn't have enough dollars behind it. We didn't have enough advertising pushing this. The hype begins before the release, obviously. So here's the next game: is that my next evolution, I believe, is going to be into the distribution world. If anything, I've gone the gamut, and from this gamut that I've ran, I realized that distribution is the power of this entire industry on a level. Producing and production is, making a project get off the ground and happen is too. A lot of people make their money in the filming of movies. So once these budgets get released to go ahead and do it, everyone's getting paid. So everyone's made their money. Producers made their money. Directors made their money. Everyone's made their money. The investors did not.
Right.
So the sad thing is, that the fallback is, hey, this is a write-off for the year that you invested. If it's if you filed your
if you have a loss on your investment, you can write it off.
Well,
but
no, yeah. Yeah, it's a 1081. It's a federal film
Right.
investment that protects investors for investing in the movies. So that's
I'm
great
sure
to
they
have that, but that's not
limit
what
the
you want to
amount of
do.
write off though.
You don't want to lose your money. You don't want to have to write it off. You want to make money.
Right,
That's
right.
the key. You want to make.
People aren't out here trying to look for write offs most of the time.
So the way you produce a movie nowadays, you take the script, you look at who would fit, what names you could get. You look at what kind of possible foreign sales will be coming in, then you look at brand placement too, because if you have cars in the movie and the budget could go down by getting a car donated by Dodge or GM or whoever you go to that wants to have their car being driven, or Mercedes Benz where Dolly Parton's behind the wheel,
Free
um,
advertising.
versus a Lexus. Yeah. So who wants it? So you can get that. Plus you could ask them to pay you
Right.
to put their. So for instance, I had Monster Energy drink in our movie and we had them pay us. So I took that money and I was able to then purchase a car that was not like a GM or Ford, but the car in my movie was a very, very special kind of car. And I thought that would have been really good and added some flavor to it. It's called the Lightning Hybrid, and they're out of Colorado, LH3, I believe they are. And amazing team of people. They put this car together. It's a one-of-a-kind prototype car with like a clamshell opening. That's where the spy gets in at the end.
Right.
I don't want to ruin it for anybody who hasn't seen the movie, but yeah. But we use that money
Also, the
then to get
car
that.
that the gangster's juvenile was driving was a very nice
Yeah, we had that
Dodge.
Dodge Charger.
Right.
Yeah, that Dodge Charger was given to us, as well as the Vespa
Yeah.
that the Koryonkos riding on the Vespa scooter.
Right. Now let's
Yeah, so
turn to the movie The Power of the Few. How did this first come about, and how did you come in? You weren't the writer, right? Obviously.
Yeah, no. Actually, that's why I just chuckled. How did this first come about? Well, let's see. So it's a really interesting story. It wasn't ever called The Power of Few.
Right.
And back in the very beginning days, I had an idea to write a movie because it was 1998 and the year 2000 was coming up and everyone was afraid of Y2K.
Yeah.
And I had a t-shirt company at the time and I was making t-shirts for the end of the world stuff with barcodes and, if barcodes are the way, then God invented Y2K and, pictures of like, I had the barcode with 3 6s in it because every barcode does have 3
Yes,
6s in it.
correct. That was thought of as being the mark of the beast at one time.
Yeah. Well, actually, I met William Barclay. I was shooting a movie up in Burbank one day, and we were at a restaurant doing it. And next door there was a coffee shop, and I was over there getting a drink. And this guy says, "What's your shirt?" And I told him how this barcode, and I put the 6s in the numbers of the barcode. I said, well, each 6 represents a marker in the black lines that are drawn above. It has nothing to do with the number system. It has to do with the computer programming to draw black lines. So when you want to draw those lines and you want to put them as close as they are or make them as thick as they are or skinny as they are, you have to write a computer code. Mm-hmm. And in the coding, it was reserved that the start code, turn page, and end of code was all marked with the number 6. So when you're doing the coding, you would put in a 6 so if you wanted to start the code. And then you'd put in, let's say, a 5, 3, 1, 2, 6 turn page, 9, 8, 4, 2, 1, 6 end of code. Okay, so it's start code, turn page, end of code. And the 2 that dip down in the middle, the little 2, that's called turn page. And each one's represented by the number 6. So this guy looks at me and says, my name's William Barclay Jr. My dad invented this for IBM, and he did this as a joke. He didn't think anyone knew this. So how did you know this? I said, well, it's out there on the internet. I said, it's out there. Somebody leaked this out there, and they know this now. So he gave me his address and wanted me to send him a shirt. But I was making all these shirts with a group of guys and friends from my hometown here in Youngstown, Ohio. And this guy Keelan and I were coming up with some interesting stuff, concepts where we took the dollar and we made it into a digital dollar, and we took God off the God awful money, because we're the only country that puts God on the money. But we figured, well, let's get it off now that we're going this route, and we made it a digital dollar. And then when we started talking about God, the graphic designer, this guy Paul, was like, well, ever heard of this book that there was a book about cloning Jesus from the blood? I said, what? He's like, yeah, they want to clone Jesus from the blood off the Shroud of Turin.
Yeah, yeah, and
that's crazy.
And so no movie has really ever touched this subject until.
No, that's because here's what it comes down to, and nobody else would have ever done something like this. But what I did was, I went home and I wrote it on a tablecloth out front of my house on Crescent Heights Boulevard in Los Angeles. And in the morning I came out and somebody had spray painted "Y" in front of it. Why clone Jesus? So I put "Daddy" and a question mark after it. So it said, "Why clone Jesus, Daddy?" And then I thought it. And I said, wow, could you imagine kids asking their parents why the world wanted to clone Jesus? And I thought about it. I'm like, you know what? This is it. This is it. This is really like now that the times of cloning and everything. And I was writing one day in my pen wrote this. It said, now that we've cloned the sheep, how about the shepherd? Right. And I dropped my pen and I said, I didn't write that. And I went to my graphic designers and we made a t-shirt, and Paul came up with this thing because it was almost November time. And it was Vote Yes, Prop 316. So we made it look like it was a yard sign. Vote Yes, Prop 316, paid for by the Science of Today. You know how they always put paid for at the bottom, right?
Yeah, by the committees and stuff.
Yeah, right. So we made this into a Prop 316.
Yeah, which is John 3:16.
Jesus so loved the world, so he gave his only begotten Son, Jesus Christ, so whoever shall believe in him, so shall have everlasting life. So the way I look at it was, clone Jesus. So I didn't know what to think of it because I'm a Christian.
Right.
And I knew that this is kind of weird, but we made a t-shirt out of it. And the first night I pressed this t-shirt, I was there with a guy from my hometown as well named Leon. And Leon's the guy that directed this movie. But we're making these t-shirts, and I was there when I made it with him. And I go out to the desert that night, because in the middle of the desert, and actually it's funny, today, it's ironic that I mentioned this, today's Monday, or what's today, Monday? There is a Moon Tribe gathering, even though we're under COVID-19 lockdown. They're going to be doing like a Zoom or a live stream, Moon Tribe DJs. Moon Tribe's a gathering of people in the middle of the desert once a month. And
in Nevada, correct?
What's that?
Is it in Nevada?
No, that's Burning Man. But I'm sure they have little ones there too. But in California, it's like a mini Burning Man. It's like a subculture where people like electronic and dancing and being free and being able to do what you want to do and really being part of a community of a different kind of mentality or consciousness that's happening and has been happening. Right. But just
is it a lot of electronic music? Electronic music?
Yeah. No words, so it's universal. So therefore, you have people from France, Germany, and I've met people from all over the world at these parties, honestly. Yeah. And the people that I've met at these parties are very interesting, unique human beings. So I went out to this party with this T-shirt, but I did not wear it. And I was just showing my friends at the desert, hey, what do you think of this? Hey, what do you think of this? And I turned to this one guy, and I'm like, what do you think of this? And he looks at me, and he walks away with this look. I said, hey, man, I'm sorry. And he's older, too. I said, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to bother you. I was just wondering what you thought of this. And he looks at me, and he goes, I am Jesus. What do you know? And now I'm looking at, you got to understand something. At that moment, I'm holding a Clone Jesus T-shirt. I'm standing in the middle of the desert underneath a full moon, in the full moon light. I'm looking at a man with gray white hair, long beard, long white hair. He's wearing a poncho, long poncho, sandals, He's got a hip sack bag,
Yeah.
hippie bag, right?
Looks like an old Jesus.
He whips out his identification in front of me. He's got 6 IDs that say he's Jesus Christ, Jesus H. Christ.
Wow.
He's, and then it started. We start talking. He has theories, and throughout the night, other people were coming up and talking with this guy, and I've never seen him at one of our parties before, this Jesus guy. And he's there, and pretty soon, there's like a gathering of people around him, and he's talking about theories, and one of his theories was that, you know why humans want to leave the planet, but no other creature does?
No, I don't. But that's true.
Yep. And he said it's because the aliens came down, genetically modified you.
Yeah. Like what aliens, like he's speaking on like the Anunnakin, maybe, possibly?
Like his other creatures, he said. He said, I created all creatures, but these creatures decided to manipulate and try to play me, and they came down and genetically created you.
Right. Yeah, I've heard some religious theories behind that, like the Nephilim, and I don't know how familiar.
So this guy, I know. So this guy says, you know, I used to design the tractor or the defense system in the Nevada desert for missiles and the guidance systems. And I decided, you know, when I found out who I was, he said he quit and changed his name to Jesus H. Christ and moved to Ojai. So anyways, long story short, I'm walking and talking with this guy. And I meet this young kid from Colorado named Ben. And Ben must have been 18 at the time. And Ben and I were walking and talking with this Jesus character. And the morning light came up and the morning time came. And, you know, we get to his car. And he opens up this trunk. And he's got 5 gallons of water, 5 gallons of wine in his trunk. And I'm looking at this kid, Ben. I'm like, is that real? And he's like, it's real. And I'm like, all right, well. And Ben's like, after you. So Ben tried it, and I tried it. And we took a little sip of his wine. I'm thinking, this character, this guy is coming out to these desert parties trying to pretend like he's Jesus and trick people and do whatever, right? And all these people are talking around him. And I said, hey, Jesus. I said, what's my name? And in front of all these people, he drew a blank. Yeah. And I got up, and I said, I'll see you later, buddy. And he goes, Frank. I go, nope. And I keep walking. And then he goes, Fred. I go, too late, man. And then he goes, no, you know who you are? He goes, you're Barabbas.
Barabbas, the one on the cross next to Jesus, right?
No,
the one that was standing
the guy
next
that
to
they
him.
let go.
Yeah.
No, the guy that they let go instead of Jesus, the people picked Barabbas over Jesus.
Yeah, the thief.
Yeah, the murder rapist, whatever he was. Yeah. But they picked him over Jesus, and that's because I showed the people that this guy's a fucking lunatic. Excuse my language on the air.
Yeah. No.
But he, you know, so as I'm leaving the party that day with my friends, Ben comes up to the window of my car, and he says, "Hey, you're in LA. I want to show you something. You know, I drew these pictures. You know," and he has an art book, and he opens up his art book, and he shows me this picture, and he says, "I didn't show Jesus because he was an asshole." Oh, but before I left Jesus, by the way, I wanted proof of who he was, so I asked him if I could have his little check stub or his checking deposit stub from his bank account book, his bank book, and he let me have one. So I still have this guy's social security number, his phone number was on it, his address, where he lives in Ojai, right? This Jesus guy. And I'm getting ready to leave the party, and Ben comes up to me and says, "Hey, Fred, I want to show you this picture. I didn't show Jesus because he was an asshole, but I want to show you it." And I look at this picture, and then I look at him, and he says, and I look at him, and then and I say to him, I said, "You didn't draw this." And I just looked at him. I said, "Do you mind if I meet up with you when we get back to LA? And I could take a look at this better?" He said, "Yeah." So we get together, and I Xerox the picture. That was back in '98. I Xerox this picture. And after I Xeroxed the picture, I sat at home and I said to myself, this is crazy. I just met some crazy guy who thinks he's Jesus. I just saw the picture of a face that came from thousands of faces of nothing but dots on a piece of paper that was not drawn by this kid, but the name of the picture is called I Am Drawn. That's the name of it. It's I Am Drawn. And it came channeled through this kid that he channeled for 3 years, dotting on a piece of paper to the point when I Xeroxed it. And then he continued for another 5 years after I Xeroxed it. So it went from a white blank piece of paper to almost a black page on a notepad, but in like an artist pad, you know. And the black in the painting and the pictures, there's not one straight line drawn. It's nothing but dots and levels of dots and dots and dots and dots and dots and dots. It's the most amazing picture out there. And I remember the Jubilee 2000. They were looking for a new face of Jesus for the Catholics. They were looking for a new face of Jesus or something, right?
Right.
A new image, like they were looking. So I sent them this picture. But also, I said to myself, I said, I want to make a movie one day. And my movie was about the world was coming, where it was, and they were trying to scare us on how everything could shut down, the world could do this, and that could happen, EMP strikes in China, and all this stuff could happen. So I thought of this idea where the whole world was fighting. In the beginning of the movie, there's this tumbling newspaper that you're following till it hits a wire fence, and then it falls to the ground, where the camera pans in on the headline, and it says, terrorist attack. And that was in 98, okay? And I actually got my headlines in year 2001 when the
9/11.
9/11. I got my terrorist attack headline a couple years after I'd been saying I want to write this movie. And the name of the script was going to be called Pangea, when the whole world became one. And they became one because now the world was fighting and everything else, but because they wanted to clone Jesus finally. Somebody now, they wanted the challenges, and then the terrorists stole the shroud to try to do it, try to bring back Jesus. Well, this whole thought, and I was sharing it with a friend of mine who was a writer who lived, he was in my hometown, and he lived in my building, and he's married to my ex-girlfriend, and we went to the same high school. And I said to him, listen, I want to write a movie, cloning Jesus, all this stuff. But instead, a couple months later, a friend of mine said, hey, Leon's got this script called Pizza by the Slice with Clone Jesus in it. So I called him up. I said, what are you doing, man? He's like, oh, nothing, we'll talk about it. Let's do it. So we go to my mom's house and sit at my mom's kitchen table. And he's like, oh, we're going to do this together, though. And I'm reading this script called Pizza by the Slice, which is almost an identical movie to Pulp Fiction, Run, Lola, Run, Go, Crash, right? And it's 5 points of view. It's the same thing. If you think about Pulp Fiction, Marcellus Wallace, right? The guy, he had the briefcase. What was in the briefcase, nobody knew.
Right, correct. It just glue.
And then there was the you got to call in the wolf, Harvey Keitel, right?
Right, correct.
And then you got the two officers like L. Jackson and Travolta, right?
Right.
The two special agents that you don't know, and then you got the Gimp, right? The you send in
right.
the Gimp guy, the Gimp in the back room, right?
Right.
Oh, I'm going to get medieval on your ass, that kind of stuff, right?
And then also with you mentioned Crash, the storyline was similar to Crash, how they all come together, right?
Yep, and then they all come together, and it's all 20 minutes. It's like the same storyline. Because Leon was a student in film school, and he was trying to learn how to write scripts. So the best way to do it was to try to copy a script of a movie, right? So he tried to copy Quentin Tarantino. I mean, almost to the T, for real. And I told him, I said, please. I said, this is stupid, because in the script, he actually has it so that they're, at the end of the movie, the street in that little town opens up, and the spy walks into this underground chamber in this podunk town where a guy walks around with a street cop still. That's like 1950s Andy Griffin, right? Come on. And he's saying that this is so secret that they built an underground thing. I said, that's dumb. I said, let's have her get in a car or something like that and drive away.
Right.
That's more realistic. Like she gets a shroud, drives away. Okay. So that's in the end of our movie too. We had to change that. But the point was is that I didn't want Clone Jesus brought to the world to that script because it was not supposed to be put into that script. And as you can tell when you watch this movie, it's actually two scripts in one. It's my concept of this end of the world theory that the whole world's coming to an end and they want to clone Jesus. Now, what he did do to kind of just make it so he made it more like his idea of clone Jesus and whatever is that he put Christopher Walken with that big monologue. And in that monologue, he's like, yeah, they want to bring them all back. No, they don't. Like that whole speech was bullshit. Like that whole speech about they want to bring them all back. They don't want to bring Buddha, Muhammad. They don't want to bring them back. Nobody's talking about bringing them back. They didn't leave any blood behind.
Right, right. The concept was supposed to be the Shroud of Turin.
Clone Jesus,
yeah,
that's it.
You're going to use the shroud.
He tried to muddle the waters. Yeah, he tried to muddle the waters. Not only that, but he tried to hide the concept in the movie so deep that you barely even understood what was really happening in this movie because the other stuff that was happening was the Quentin Tarantino's two cops, which was Christian Slater, Mickey Whelan. And what they did was they went to the house where the terrorist was, and they got him, and then they had to call in the bag.
Right, right. Well, now, she looked familiar to me, too. She almost looked like the lady from that Arnold...
She's Kim Blacklock. That's Kim Blacklock. I don't know what she's played in the past. You can look her up, Kim Blacklock. She's a great lady, beautiful woman. And, yeah, she's about 7 feet tall, no doubt. She's huge. She's amazing. She's huge.
Yeah,
and
the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie where he goes to Mars. I think she was the one with where he disguised himself.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I haven't seen her other works, but what happened was basically I told him, I said, listen, this is a direct ripoff of The Bag and The Wolf. Like, hey, we got to call in Wolf. Don't call in the Wolf, right?
Right.
Like they're arguing over not to call in Harvey Keitel.
Right.
Same exact scene. Mickey Whelan, Christian Slater fighting over not
torturing him,
not calling in the bag. Yeah, and then they torture him in that disgusting way.
Oh my Lord, that was unbelievable.
Okay.
Oh my!
And it was too much. It's like, what are you doing? Like the stuff that he gets off on is like some low level mentality, like.
Right.
Just like those
make you want to vomit.
High school that make you want to vomit. Kind of like the mentality of the jokes of this is not even as funny as like in Revenge of the Nerds. Okay, it was even worse.
Yeah.
It was like I don't know. It's just bad.
Yeah.
It was bad what he did with that because it was such a ripoff of Quentin Tarantino that even the newspapers and every article came out after this was over that. Who is this guy acting like Quentin Tarantino? You know,
right.
and I really didn't want in the storyline something completely different. Okay, it was not. You know, the sorbitol, the baby needs the medicine, right?
Right.
The Yorbital, and it was about the baby and this. And, you know, okay, and then here's my biggest problem with it. His power of few. Came with this character few that bites her cheek.
Right.
When she's chewing the inside and she bites her cheek and it brings you back and it brings you back and then she stops something from happening. And my question was, who is Few?
She's just walking down the street. Yeah. That's how I took it. Like
an angel, or so if she's an angel, then why is she's an angel or whatever? Like, where's she get her powers from? That you know what I mean? Like, where's her powers coming from when we're talking about cloning Jesus over here?
Right.
We're talking about a real, true opportunity to bring to the world this concept of the facts are there is blood on a shroud, whether it's Jesus's or not. It's blood.
Correct.
It's blood. Let's be honest.
There's DNA. We have DNA.
So here's the next major thing is that I always said that I wanted to have Larry King talking about this one day. So after I saw Jesus Christ in the Desert and Ben's picture, which is honestly the scariest and most amazing picture you'll ever see. And I said, I want to put this in my movie one day. And that was in '98. So now when you're in the space bar and you see behind the spy on the wall, there's that big ominous face.
Yeah.
That big black face on the wall. I don't know if you recall him in the
No,
space
I
bar.
don't recall that.
When the kid's about to
Get shot.
to do that.
Right.
Yeah, you see it in the background. You see this face.
Right.
And it's the face. It's the face I said I was going to put in the movie one day, because it's actually, it comes from the other side. I captured a paranormal face that was channeled from the other side to this world, and I put it in this movie.
Right.
And with it, when I first landed in Louisiana, I was talking to the main producer there, Roy. He says to me, Fred, you don't really believe in this Jesus crap, do you? I said, excuse me, Roy? He's like, yeah, come on, you don't really believe in this story about Jesus and all this stuff, do you? I said, Roy, you know what movie you're working on, right? Yeah. I said, yeah. I said, but you do realize that we're doing a movie with Jesus' name, and we're talking about Jesus, and this is a reality here? And he's all like joking the first week of us down there. By the end of our shoot, in our month in Louisiana, there was a pay discrepancy. We had to call the office about something. I told him to get Jimmy on the phone, right? And he said he was going to talk to Jimmy. So I gave him a few minutes, and I walked away from him. I came back around the corner, and I see Roy sitting on the curb. And I go over to Roy, and I'm like, Roy, what did Jimmy say, huh? And he looks at me, and he's quivering. His lips are quivering. And here's a grown man, about 40-some years old, sitting on the ground, quivering. I just saw Ben's face. I just saw Ben's face. I just saw the face. I just saw Ben's face. I just saw the face. I just saw the face. It came at me, and it just said to me, what are you doing here? What are you doing here, Roy? This film is going to burn.
The film is going to burn? That's what it... So...
Your soul is going to burn. Your film is going to burn.
Wow.
Yeah. And he was quivering, and he said he wanted to go home. I want to go home. I want to go home. I go, Roy, you saw Ben's face? You saw the face? He's like, I saw the face. Said, I saw the face. It was right there. It came at me. And it said to me, what are you doing here? See, here's a guy that doesn't, what is he doing there? What did you do? Here was my question to him was this. I said, Roy, what did you do that this movie's going to burn, Roy? Huh? What'd you do? Because I'm not worried about your soul right now. I'm worried about what you did to this movie that this movie's going to burn, Roy. I want to know, what did you do, Roy?
And what was Roy's position on the film? What was he?
Executive producer.
Oh, the exec?
Yeah, he was executive, but he didn't put money in. He put some money in. He put time and energy. He put it together. Roy's an exec. He's a good man. He's a good man, except whatever happened to him, whatever he did, because he's not that good at it. He's a businessman. And in business, what do? They screw everyone over, don't they?
Yeah.
So
and obviously he's a non-believer because he was the one asking you about Jesus.
Non-believer, and I even said to my partners too, I said, you know what, buddy? I said, you're going to profit from the prophet in a different way than I am. And I didn't want to profit from the prophet anyways, because I knew if I put a Clone Jesus movie out there to the world, it could make a lot of money for somebody. But see, for me, it wasn't going to be about the money for like the BMWs and the Lexuses and everything else you want in this country club bullshit. It would be about getting the messages out, because for my life, when '98 hit, and I didn't do my movie till 2010, I wore Clone Jesus on my shirts every day until that movie was made. I put shirts out there to the world. I wrote them on dumpsters on the sides of Highland and Franklin, and we shipped our script around, and we gave it to James Woods. James Wood, he says, no thank you, and passed.
Right.
He was going to play the part of Watkins.
Right. And James
you know
Wood...
what he did?
No.
He hired a writer. Him and Castle Rock Productions, Ian Corsica. You can look it up. Ian Corsica, Castle Rock Productions, and James Wood trying to do a Jesus movie.
Yeah, so he tried to
Jesus.
basically copy your script.
No, probably through that in the trash and just took the concept, because remember, you can't copyright a concept like a bank robbing movie.
Right.
It's a bank robbing movie. That's a concept, but you can make a different kind of bank robbing movie, but it's the concept that is uncopyrightable. Just to show you the greed of this guy, Leon, he went and copywritten. He did a copyright on Clone Jesus now. He tried to threaten me not to make T-shirts too anymore, otherwise he could come after me. I said, you'll never be able to. You can't. And I don't care what you ever try to do. You're never going to ever stop me from making Clone Jesus T-shirts in my life, ever.
Well, especially if you were making them prior to him, you know.
Now, this guy had nothing to do with Jesus. Didn't even care about it. Just knew that he wanted that concept in the script that shouldn't have been in there. So you're watching a separate story. You're watching Run Lola Run and Go, because we have a box. Pulp Fiction had a briefcase. Big difference, right? You got the box and then you have the briefcase. What's the difference? There is none. The audience doesn't know what's in it. You never know what's in it, do you? You kind of figure it out in ours.
Right.
You know, the Shroud of Turin was stolen from the safekeepings of the Vatican. So here comes the year 2000. I'm working at CNN, and I wear a Clone Jesus on my shirt to the lunchroom, and I see Larry, and I say, hey, Larry. I said, what do you think of this? I planted the seed, basically. I said, I could see you talking about this one day with a priest, a scientist, an atheist. And he says, a rabbi. I go, yeah, you're Jewish and a rabbi, sure. Well, 2005 comes, and I go to CNN again, and I drop off a Clone Jesus T-shirt to him. We had some movement in 2005. And then from there, it wasn't until 2011, I called him up. I said, hey, Larry, remember me? I have a movie now that's done in the can, but we want to have a segment now where you're going to be in this. We have a spot for you in the movie we're going to put with the editing. We want you talking to a priest and a scientist about the cloning Jesus. So now I had to find a priest and a scientist. But I didn't want an actor. I'm not looking for an actor. I'm looking for a real one. And I'm at Christmas time now, and I have to find a priest and a scientist. And my family, my cousin tells me that her husband, I should talk to. So I talked to her husband, and he says, my cousin is the molecular geneticist from Georgetown. His name is Dr. Kevin Fitzgerald. He's the Jesuit priest who spoke on behalf of the Vatican in the 90s regarding Dolly the sheep and cloning. Would that do?
That's perfect.
He's a scientist, and he's a Jesuit priest from the Vatican, which is the only priest allowed to study science.
Correct.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
So the Jesuits over here, they're the ones with the Lucifer Project, too. The Lucifer Project is a telescope bigger than NASA's.
Correct.
And you wonder why the hell would the Vatican worry about the stars? Well, I'll tell you why. Because, number one, when it comes time to announce the other civilizations that are here or coming, you cannot have the government announce it before the church. Otherwise, the church will lose billions of people. Once you have the church do it first, then the governments will follow. The church will be the first ones to make the acknowledgement of extraterrestrial life being okay to believe in, which they then did back in, 2005 or something. The Vatican came out and said it is now okay to believe in extraterrestrial life from the Lucifer Project scientists.
Right. It's so ironic that I get why they name it the Lucifer Project, but your church naming it Lucifer is quite ironic.
It's not ironic. It's exactly what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Here's the way that the devil works like this. In your face. Secret societies, how they work with magic is in your face. Mm-hmm. They're not allowed to conceal that part. The part is in your face, such as the big lies, everything, the big disclosure is already out there. They're telling you what they're doing. They're telling you, so there's no lies. So the whole Lucifer Project is that the church itself is letting it be known what they are.
Oh,
see, come out of her, my people. What does that mean to you? It means this to me. It means come out of her. Who is her? The mother church. Come out of her.
Right. So
she's corrupt these days.
Well, I can't say, I used to be Catholic. I left the the church, But Italians, you seem to be Latin of some type with the last name.
Well, I'm 100%. I'm 100% Italian,
Right.
An American,
right?
Raised Catholic, left the Catholic faith, but don't have any other denomination that you go to other than to just the Christ consciousness and Jesus Christ and the consciousness of this entity that was here to show us that there is a higher power of consciousness that could emanate itself through physical reality anytime it wishes, and can take physical reality and destroy it anytime it wishes. This is a reality that was brought to us multiple times. The first, I believe, was through the Moses tablets, which I don't care what you say. There's not one man, not your father, your grandfather, my dad, not the president, not the doctor that down the street that could ever come up with 10 simple things that the entire world would then see as valuable and follow for millennial. Okay? You have these tablets that have lasted for 2,000 years plus, 2,000 plus years.
Correct.
And they're only 10 things. All you have to do is come up with 10 things, please, that we all have to follow. You couldn't do it. I couldn't do that. I would never have come up with those 10 commandments, ever. And I don't think any man on this planet could have or would have. Those are rules that were given, and they're obviously been given because to uphold them is only with truth that we do it. The only reason why something exists is because it has truth to it. When something is non-truthful, we destroy it instantly. We no longer follow it. We don't listen to it any longer. We evolve from things that are not true. But for something to be true and to hold on to it to these days, I'm sorry, there's truth in there. And what else has truth is the words in red. You might throw that whole book away because it's all in black, but there's words in red that mean you can't throw it away because for some reason there was a man at some point in time, which they said was 2,000 years ago, that spoke these words. That then maybe the book didn't come till years later and all this bullshit, but guess what? Whatever you want to say about the words in black, how they're all manipulated, King James, King Henry, who did what, the New American Version, I don't care. The one thing that has not been manipulated is the words in red.
Yeah.
Because there's no way you can manipulate words in red, which are Jesus's words. Because if you manipulate them, they will lose the value of what they give, which is a message that is unfathomable for other men or women to speak. Those words. There's not the Buddha. There's not Gandhi. I don't care. Mother Teresa herself follows the words in red. Therefore, there is no human being that has ever been or will be that beautiful and have that much guidance as those words in red, because not even the Buddhist ways, which is longer and older than the Christian followings of Jesus Christ,
right.
Which comes from Christ consciousness, which comes from the Buddha Christ, which if you look into it, yes, Jesus was Buddha Christ, reincarnated in their eyes perhaps, but let's just call him Buddha Christ because he's Christ.
Right.
His last name was not Jesus Christ.
I get what you're saying. What Christ taught is universal. Like there's good and there's bad. There's truth and there's false, right? And whether these people realize it or not, a lot of their teachings is the teachings of Christ.
Well, it is, and it's more of this. You got to look at the Romans who made this whole thing what it was and did what they did, and yes, this message was supposed to be passed amongst the world, but here's the beauty of the Bible, I believe, is the apocalyptic visions that were given to St. John. Because you already had the divine Daniel back in the day, but that was too hard for people to see the Armageddon, you know?
Right. The book of Daniel prior to Jesus, right?
A little bit tough.
I love the book of Daniel. I think it was great.
It's tough, though, for today's day and age to grab that one versus John.
Right.
John said, no one shall buy or sell without receiving the mark.
Right. The mark of the beast. Right.
How?
Do you have an opinion on like what the mark of the beast?
Now here's where let me tell you something. This is so amazing that we started our conversation with Hollywood.
Right.
Because when I first moved out there, and my cousin Jack, big time writer, producer, didn't want to hear any bullshit, wanted to find out if I was bullshit, put me up to the test by making me go to this lady that first, you can't even get into this lady unless you could prove to her that you know how to act. So for a Saturday to show up, I had to learn a monologue. I had to come prepared with a monologue is what she told me. So what do you do for monologue? You're in Hollywood. What do you do?
I don't, for a monologue, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, every acting person out there goes to like a Samuel French on Sunset. Go to Samuel French up in the valley. Get yourself monologue books, plays, Neil Simon's, whatever you want to do. Just get a monologue from Samuel French or something.
All right.
Well, I walked in and I saw all these actors and all these other people standing there with their books and looking and reading and, you know, and I walked out and I said, that's not me. I'm not all these people. And I went home and called up a buddy of mine and I said, hey, give me a couple of good movies to watch real quick. A really good cult, like, you know, underground classics, right? Mm-hmm. And one he said was Naked. You ever seen a movie called Naked?
Not offhand, I can't say that I have, no.
Naked, I think it's Michael Lee. But there's a scene where the security guard is talking to the character, and there's a monologue where he starts off and he says, you know, bro, you have this preoccupation, this gleeful preoccupation with the future. I mean, I don't mind, but I hate to tell you, but you don't have a future. We don't have a future. Nobody has a fucking future. The gig is up. I mean, take a look around you. The world has gone to shit. Now, I'm not saying that it's all gonna go away or whatever, but let's take a look at the Book of Daniels. What's the prophesizing the apocalypse? When the bugle, when he blows his trumpet. Right now, I'm trying to go off the top of my head, but this monologue brings you through the mark of the beast, the apocalypse, wormwood. Wormwood. What is wormwood? What's the Russian translation for the wormwood? Is Chernobyl. That's another fact.
Wow.
So what they say is that it's not that life's going to cease to exist, but we're going to cease to exist because we are nothing more than another crap idea. Just like the dinosaurs. And that's how this ends, right? And it was so moving and so intense that she thought I was making it up just on the fly. So I did it so well, and I had it in my back pocket. I pulled the script, 10-minute long script about this whole movie script about the end of the world and this whole vision of John. Funny though, because at that time in '98, I was nowhere near the conscious tapped in mind. It wasn't until I was flying home from Hollywood, and that's when I picked up a magazine where they said, can planes fall out of the sky in Y2K? I started looking at all this stuff. That's when my mind started changing more into like looking into what could possibly happen and what's going on in the future and all this stuff. And I wasn't surprised when 9/11 hit.
No, I
wasn't surprised at all. By 2001, I wasn't surprised at all. My research and looking into all kinds of, future conspiracies of digital dollars coming. And now we look at this COVID-19 and saying nobody wants to touch the dollar bill anymore.
Right.
Well,
they've actually proposed, and they're proposing a digital federal wallet in a couple bills.
They did that in November, by the way.
Yeah. It don't look like they're going to pass,
last year. No, it is. Last November, before this even started, the Fed said we want a digital dollar.
Correct.
You're going to get what you want.
Oh, they're going to get it eventually. There's no doubt in my mind.
All over the world. This whole thing could be a trial run for the next thing, which is COVID 2021 or 2020.
Right.
Whatever it is, it's going to be whatever they want to do.
Well, and you're aware Facebook is releasing a digital currency also. I don't know if you're aware of that.
No.
Yeah, Facebook's going to come out with their own digital currency. And so hypothetically, you could get paid for how many likes you get, how many views you get on your Facebook, like through their, I forget what their, something with an L, their name in it, their currency, but it's set to come out soon. I mean, it's inevitable that the dollar is going to be in trouble because these digital currencies they have no control, the government, over how much is produced, who's control.
You gotta go back. You gotta look at the dollar and what it's tied to, and mainly it's a petrodollar.
Correct. And
so when you look at what happened with Saudi Arabia's oil fields being blown up, and then we went and we killed Soleimani, then it went quiet,
right?
And now all of a sudden there's tension.
Right. And you're aware the oil a couple weeks ago went negative, right? The American West Texas. Yeah. And so if your dollar is essentially tied to oil, on that day, man, your dollars were virtually worthless, hypothetically.
Yeah.
Yeah, because people were.
That's why you buy it at $2 and it's up to $20.
Yeah.
U.S. oil fund, $2.60 now it's $20.60.
Yeah, I knew it would rebound, but we could still have a rocky ways to go here in the next couple months. But I mean, oil's never going to be worthless. Hello?
Any other questions you might have?
No, I mean, dude, I love the concept. The whole, I think it was a little before its time. I don't know if people for instance, on Netflix, I'm a big fan.
Let me tell you the evolution here. So the Clone Jesus came out, didn't really go anywhere, right?
Right.
Like it went out, we got out there. I wanted the whole Middle East to hear it.
Right.
When we sold it to the Middle East, they censored everything that had to do with Jesus. By the way, they took it out of the movie.
Wow, that's crazy.
How about that one? Because once a territory buys your film, that's their film now.
Right.
Okay.
Correct.
So
they can censor it however they like. They can censor it however they like.
So my whole point was to get the Chinese, the Muslims, the atheists to start talking about the possibilities of cloning Jesus.
Right.
Could you imagine atheists and what they would say? So we do have a segment, and I can put up some links for you, but we do have Larry King. If you go to YouTube and you just type in Larry King clone Jesus, right, you'll see Larry King talking to the scientist about this possibility, and it really makes human beings stop for a second and think about this honestly. If we can recreate that DNA, who would it be?
Yeah, it's interesting. Now, would you support cloning Jesus personally?
Yes.
Yeah.
You know why?
No.
Because as a Christian, he comes back. Not we bring him back.
Right.
The only way to clone Jesus would be to act like him and be like him. That's the other slogan. Act like him, be like him, clone Jesus. Now that we've cloned the sheep, how about the shepherd? If you're going to mess around with sheep, pigs, cows, sharks, whatever you're cloning, guys, here's the blood of Jesus. Why don't you go for that? What are you afraid? Because here's the next thing. What would happen if they did? Well, in my movie that I wanted to make, while the scientists are putting the cells together, a flash of white light comes out of the petri dish and makes them turn their head away from the microscope, which makes them look out the window. When they look out the window, what do they see? Nuclear bombs going off in the distance.
Wow.
At the same time that the world would be trying to clone the deity, bringing back Jesus, or however it would go down. Like, could you actually imagine how it would ever go down? It would be a huge protest and riot outside of the Vatican, or it would already have been a rush on the Vatican, or in Italy, there's a little town in Italy where there's a Eucharist, where there was a priest that was losing his faith, and he was going to give Mass that day. And he was going to give up priesthood because he just didn't want to believe anymore. He just was getting over it, right?
Right.
while he was giving Mass, the Eucharist turned into flesh and blood.
Yeah.
And it's still on display to this day, and they tested it, and it turned out to be cardiovascular tissue.
Wow. That's great. Yeah, the Vatican does have a bunch of miracles like that they have documented. I've seen.
Well, that wasn't in the Vatican, though. That was in just a little church in a little town in Italy, where one priest was losing his faith, and that day, back in the 18th century, whatever it was, and since then, that Eucharist has been on display in that church in that little town of Italy. So,
and it actually became flesh.
Yes, it became flesh.
Yeah,
and it's still on display today. You can look it up. It's the miracle of the Eucharist.
It's so ironic too, because what you say is so true. If they tried to clone Jesus, it would cause the whole world to not act very Christ-like. Let me tell you.
Or wait a minute. Or it would be finally, because the question, why clone Jesus, Daddy, would have to be answered. Why do they want to clone Jesus, Daddy? What would you answer to your kids? You have kids. What would you tell your kids? What would you tell your kids?
I don't think I would support cloning Jesus personally myself. I think.
Well, let me tell you something. It doesn't matter if you would or not. Let's say the world was going to, because they realized that they could.
So, I would tell my children, because the world wants to see if he's real, basically. You know, and you know, in my heart.
Daddy, what if it's the Antichrist, Daddy? What if they clone him and then he's the Antichrist, Daddy? What?
We're in trouble. but
are you in trouble? Are you in trouble?
Well, I'm still saved by
Antichrist.
Yeah, I'm saved by Christ no matter what.
There you go.
Know? But
what happens in your faith, Evo? What happens to you? What happens when there's an Antichrist on this planet that people think is Jesus? What happens next in your faith? What happens?
In my faith, you get the mark of the beast, and then if you take the mark of the beast, you can't get into heaven. And if you don't take the mark of the beast, my faith, you're killed here on earth.
Okay, but what else happens next after this whole when the Antichrist does this? What happens in your faith?
Well,
the next phase.
The real Jesus comes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, gee, guess what? Hey, guess what, guys? It might be time to clone Jesus one way or another, because either way.
Then the real Jesus will come.
Okay? They would clone the boy, and as the boy grew up, they would tell the boy who he was, right? Mm-hmm. So now you've got this boy that is supposedly Jesus. So I run a film commission here in town, and a couple of years ago, I met this producer that flew in from Hollywood, came here, and he's like, "Yeah, I heard you did a movie, and I saw your movie." Where he's like, "I wrote a movie about cloning Jesus." I'm like, "Shut up! No, you didn't." He's like, "Yeah, I did. I said, I bet you did." I said, "When did you do it?" 2009. I said, "Yep." I said, "Okay." I said, "It's been out there for a while. We tried getting it going in Hollywood. Nobody will touch it. Nobody wanted to put money into this idea, because it's half blasphemy."
Right.
Sacrilegious. Let me tell you, sacrilegious. But here was my deciding moment in life, and I'll be honest with you. In '98, I had that T-shirt, and I didn't know if it was sacrilegious or if I should be doing this, because things are happening to me. I got hurt right after I wore it. I got hurt really bad in life. I hurt my leg. I didn't know signs were showing up that tell me to stop doing this. I was meeting interesting and weird and strange people too. Beautiful people as well. Great.
That happens in Hollywood, though.
Well, yeah, no, all over the place with this. So I traveled. I was dating this girl. She lived in Massachusetts, so we drove probably 3 times cross country that year. And we would meet up at T-shirt stores and stuff and sell shirts too. So I would meet people and talk about all the concepts on our shirt, and Clone Jesus would bring up tons of concepts and talks. People on the streets in Venice Beach, all these people from all over the world. The Clone Jesus concept was just so I lit it on fire one day. I put the words Clone Jesus, and I had my cousin, who was a graphic designer, throw fire on those words. So we lit it on fire, like it's a bad idea to clone Jesus. Okay?
Right.
And then we did Clone Jesus where it was like real shiny, like silver, like,
Yeah,
then we
metallic.
did one where it was like, yeah, then we did one where it was metallic and then blood red on the other part.
Right.
Then we did one where we did the cross, but instead of hanging on the cross, we hung a question mark on the cross.
Right.
We put clone Jesus on both sides of the cross, so it was like clone Jesus with a question mark hanging on the cross. And the thing about clone Jesus is just to realize that why is it blasphemous? It brings people to talk about Jesus. Because here's the truth: an atheist, scientist, a Jewish person, a Muslim, we're talking about cloning Jesus here. Well, who are you talking about? Jesus. So let's talk about the Chinese people who are, how many billions? 7 billion people that don't know who he is because their government doesn't give them the book. Their government does not allow them to gather sanction. And share. So, and nobody believes in it, too. Plus, they downplay one nation under God letting the people starve on the streets versus one nation under China over here who just believes in us. You believe in us, we feed you every day, right? So they have the proof in the pudding to show that this God country doesn't really help its people. So they bash us there. But then this Jesus is gone out of their society. So all of a sudden, the whole world is erupting because of this clone Jesus concept. Now, those Chinese people will have no choice but to hear, learn, educate, research, find out, understand, grab the concept. Because here's the problem. Once you find out who they're trying to clone, now you've got a real problem if you're an atheist, a real problem if you're just a agnostic or just whatever you are that doesn't have this belief. Now that you actually find out who they're trying to bring back.
Yeah, he existed at that point.
Hey, and the fact that they want to. Now, why do they want to? To either disprove it, prove it, to see what happens, just to see what happens. Like, I really don't care what you do. I really don't care as long as his name is here. Still, to this day, I don't mind as long as his name is here because you're still acknowledging, bringing him into this realm every time you mention his name, whether it's with a clone in front of it or whatever you say in front of his name.
Right. Well, it's definitely an interesting concept. Like it hasn't been touched, and now everyone, it seems like in the movie industry, like the end of the world is just like such a popular topic.
It's it now, yeah. Now they're all on this, and I have a script that we're producing right now, and it's called Resurrection.
Yeah. Are you familiar with Messiah on Netflix?
I have already watched them all within 3 days.
Yeah.
And I told my friend who's a writer who wrote this Resurrection script, who told me I did a script with Clone Jesus, and I said I want to produce another Clone Jesus movie now in my life, and I want to do it right this time. And his script is awesome. It's a really, really good script, and it's going to be probably about a $30 to $50 million budget movie.
That's awesome.
And we're going to have to go to studios and take it to the next level because this is not going to be done with a $4 million budget. And that was part of Leon's reasoning why he put Clone Jesus into this script, because he wanted to put Clone Jesus in this and to do this. But he said to do it my way, it would have taken more money and more time to do that. It would never get done. So he decided we'll just do it like this.
Yeah.
Well, by doing it like this, it didn't get the job done. And the job was to spread the message of Clone Jesus, because never before have those two words ever before, been put together for you to now understand the possibilities that this concept can become a reality anytime human beings on this planet desire it to be. Because the truth is, we have the abilities.
Yeah, we do.
And I think here's the other thing, and here's the true reason why I wanted to do this as well. In the book, it says that he comes again when everyone knows his name and wants him. And when I was a little kid, I remember I got discouraged with Christianity by thinking, well, how are the Chinese going to ever know his name and want him? How are the people that don't, the Jews, how are the Jews ever going to want him when they don't want him? He's never going to come. Everyone has to want him first. He's not coming until everyone knows his name and wants him.
Right.
How are you going to make sure everyone knows his name and wants him, God? How are you going to do this? It's never going to happen. This is a never-ending story that's never going to come to an end because he doesn't come until everyone knows his name and wants him. How? How are you going to do that, God? And you know what that guy Jesus in the desert told me? He says, I'm going to fulfill the prophecy of being everywhere at the same time by releasing myself on the internet.
Oh. So
he, clever character, huh?
He's going to be broadcast on the internet everywhere. So you hop on the World Wide Web, and it's going to be Jesus.
Yeah, but you know what's funny is that the script I wanted to do was called Pangea. And Pangea was when the world was one. Do you remember Pangea?
Yeah, when the land was all connected.
Yeah, except this time it's not the tectonic plates that are bringing the world together. It's the technological plates inside of every computer that's bringing us together now.
So it's
now called Pangea.
A technology Pangea. I get it.
Exactly. And what happens is this, is like when apes on two different continents at the same time in evolutionary theory looked up and saw bananas and said food source, and at the same time they did that, that's when food source became the same food source for the same species on two different continents at the same time. It's a critical mass that hit, and boom. Or it's when somebody knows that IBM stocks, the thing to buy, this Facebook stock, or Bitcoin. It's the moment that everyone knows what everyone else knows. It's called a critical mass moment. It's a boom.
Right. And it can't be contained any longer. It's now known that that's the way it's going to happen. Right. Yeah, I get what you're saying completely. Like
so what happens is at one point in time, the whole world will know that the whole world wants to clone Jesus, whether you're in China or wherever you're at.
Right.
And at that moment in time is when critical mass hits that everyone knows his name and everyone wants him, whether you're an atheist, Muslim, Jew, whether you're whatever thing, because if the whole world wants to clone Jesus to get, let's just say they're calling the bluff on Christianity at this point. Let's say at this point in time, they're actually saying, all right, you know what? Yeah, let's clone him. Let's
see what happens.
Let's clone Jesus. Let's see what happens. Let's bring an end to this. Because just like they created CERN, and they said, we could possibly create strangelets that create a black hole that drop to the center of the earth, that suck us into this black hole, and we dissipate to nothing more than the human race is a flag on a moon floating in space, and that's it.
That's all that's left of evidence of humanity is a flag on the moon.
That's it. Because of us. And they said that we need to do this because that is the fate of humankind. If we were supposed to design this to do this, and this is what we needed, that's the scientific mind. That's the reasoning and logic behind putting this together, because the chances and possibilities of it happening for us to evolve to do that, to wipe us out through a black hole, is for us to do that.
I mean,
asinine.
We can look even at we could even more easily clone people that have lived more recently. Abraham Lincoln, I don't know how familiar you are with I collect baseball cards, right? And a popular thing now with a lot of cards and baseball cards, they'll actually put like a piece of hair inside of a card, and they'll sell you a baseball card with like a piece of hair of the player. Are you familiar with that?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah, there's actually cards out there where you'll get a piece of the player's hair, and that's how far it's gone now. Now, how that's really that player's hair or that person's hair?
Yeah.
I have no, I have no clue.
DNA testing they need. Huh?
Yeah, But that's how far we've gone now, to where people want to have a product that was either a part of a person or touched by a person. And even in society, there's some of these influencers on YouTube and stuff, and they sell a bottle they drink out of. They drink some water, and they sell that water after they drank out of it. Yeah.
Listen, I was working on a Cindy Crawford Meaningful Beauty commercial back in the day, and I had Cindy Crawford's straw with her lips on it, And I was thinking to myself, wow,
I could sell
this
it.
could fetch some good money. Yeah, you could sell it, right? That was when I was a first PA way back in the day, right?
Yeah.
Well, we don't do that. That's not what we
No,
do.
no, you're violating trust at that point. You'll be.
Yeah, we don't do that.
Yeah.
And then when I was on my movie, before we were leaving, I stopped by the craft service tent, and the guy in there, I looked in this fridge, and there was this Starbucks mocha that was back there. I was like, oh, it was like brand new. He's like, oh, no, you can't have that one. So why not? So, oh, that was Christian Slater's, man. He didn't tell you, but I'm going to sell it.
Like, man, you gonna sell this mocha?
And he's telling the producer this, and I'm like, nah, we're not doing that. Sorry.
Yeah, no, don't do that.
We're not doing that, buddy. We're not doing that.
But that's how crazed we've become as a society. Like we literally, you know.
Yeah, you can't do that. You gotta just know what not to do.
Yeah.
Like there's so many times I worked with so many stars, and way back in the day, I dated this girl. Her roommate was this paparazzi guy. Who actually got punched in the nose by Robert De Niro, and broke his nose.
Yeah.
So he was going to sue De Niro, but De Niro called him up and said, hey, I'll give you $50,000. So this guy flew out to New York. De Niro picked him up in the limo and drove him around for a bit, whatever. Sorry, apologize, whatever. And then gave him the bag of money. As he was getting out of the limo, there were cops waiting and arrested him because in New York it's extortion if you take money outside of the system.
Right.
So
right. So he shouldn't have took cash.
He stood him up.
Yeah.
Or he
set him up.
Set him up. Yeah. He made him come on in from LA, flew him in, made him think like everything was going to be fine, gave him the money. As soon as he got out of the limit, boom, gone. Got arrested for extortion. He was the same guy, the paparazzi guy, that snuck in on a beach with a tent, captured Leonardo DiCaprio and made a video of him on a beach.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's nasty. Like, that's paparazzi stuff. So when I was working a lot of music videos with like Snoop Dogg and what else did I do? What was he trying to get on set with? He was one. Like, I worked Outkast 4 times, and he was asking, "Where's the set?" He wanted me to tell him where the set was. I'm not telling him where the set is. You don't do that. Paparazzi makes money on his pictures, and then you'll get in trouble. You don't do that stuff. So you got to know your loyalty. You got to stay right.
You got to have some type of ethics to some degree.
Yeah. Oh God, but people in Hollywood, it's unbelievable what people do.
Oh.
It's unbelievable. But see, the thing is, you got to know. And that's why, like I said, I walked out of that first audition because I was like, do I really want to give in and do this? Yeah, I want to be in movies. Yeah, I want to do that. But the first role you want to take, is this the pigeonhole you want to be put into? Is this what you want?
People might, after your first role, they might assume you're gay in real life if that's your first role.
If you do such a damn good job, hell yeah.
They'll think you're gay in real life. No matter
what role that is, though, right? So that's what happens to actors. People start seeing actors as if they are the characters they played.
Correct.
Because they did such a good job.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people, if you get such a good role, it hurts you to be labeled like that actor, and you can't get any other roles because you're known as that, role.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you keep getting that role, and you keep getting that role. You know what you're going to get when you hire Michael Madsen, right? You're going to get Michael Madsen.
Yeah, but Michael Madsen.
Anyone else but Michael Madsen.
I love Michael Madsen though, man. He's great.
We did a movie with him, and we told him to keep his feet off the couch numerous times and lay down and throw his feet up on the couch.
Yeah.
He just disrespected. And then there was another time I worked another movie with him, but we couldn't shoot the scenes because he showed up and he was already partying too hard, and he couldn't do things. And, it was one of those situations, right? So you just, there was another time when I worked with him, too, and he came to the set, too. Same damn thing. So,
Yeah, he's had his issues. I seen he got a couple DUIs a couple times, too.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. Not only that, but then another story with him, too, where he bought a Airstream trailer one time. And he bought it from this guy that kept it in mint condition and everything else. He tried, pulling it out of this long driveway or whatever, detached it. it rolled all the way down and smashed it, and he wanted his money back. I could ruin this guy's, For
That's
fuck's sake.
ridiculous. Hey, once you bought it, it's yours, buddy.
Yeah, right. Nice air scene too.
Oh man.
But
Yeah. Well, we're an hour and 40 in now, man. It's pretty long, you know.
Do what you can.
Yeah,
Say what you can for a little bit. It's a long story.
Yeah, I would love to talk to you again, though. I'm sure you got tons of Hollywood stories and stuff, you know, like.
Yeah, lots of Hollywood stuff to talk about. But as far as the one thing I could say is just moving forward with this concept, it's not going to die off. It's not going to be done with The Power of Few, which has later been touted as The Tower of Pooh. So, I mean, it's not a bad movie.
No,
it's a bad movie.
The concept is great, and
dude, when you bite your cheek one more time, and it's a bad movie. Though, I'll tell you that. You bite it one more time.
Right, more time.
I was done. If it was one more bite, I was done.
But see, I'm the type of guy. This is right down my alley. Like, I love Messiah. I love, the Shroud of Turin. You know, dude, that was right down my alley. You know, and I love Christian Slater too. I'm a big Christian Slater fan. So, you know, I know he's not doing big films anymore, but he was still one of my favorite as a kid. I remember when one of my favorite movies he was in, when he caught that puck, he plays like a handicapped kid when he was real young. I forget, but that was
which was that?
I don't even remember.
I don't know. True Romance.
Yeah, but that was a great movie. That movie.
So, True Romance.
What was True Romance the one that was based in Detroit? Was that the one? True.
Christian Slater was in it. Christopher Walken was in it. Dennis Hopper was in it.
Yeah, that was the one based in Detroit. No, not that was great too, though. That was a great movie.
I'll tell you what, though. That's the reason why we put those two in my movie, was because they have not been in a movie together since True Romance. And that was one of our favorite movies, was True Romance.
Yeah.
And, Christopher Walken, Christian Slater.
Yeah.
And Dennis Hopper. I got a chance.
And the girl was from that one family, the big Hollywood family. His girlfriend in that movie.
Arquette. Yeah, I worked with her.
Yeah.
Not her though, but her other sister, not Juliet. No, Juliet Arquette.
Yeah.
Years ago.
Yeah.
Juliet Arquette. She was Pulp Fiction. Patricia Arquette.
Yeah, that was a
David
great.
Arquette I worked with. Yeah, David Arquette I worked with. Worked with Dennis Hopper. Dennis Hopper was actually with Michael Madsen. I think that was called Against the Law. I think it was Against the Law. That was one of them. Yeah, interesting. But so that was a great talk today. I appreciate the time.
Yep, no problem. Like I said, I'd love to have you on again. I'll send you a link to the finished product. Anything else you'd like to mention before we take off?
No.
All right. Thanks. That is good time. All right. Have a good day. Have a good one.